7 o'clock right here on Love 101 FM, the family station, and it's now time for the Morning Watch.
The Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. And of course, Love 101 FM is the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also check us out on Love 101 FM, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. In the main watch today, understanding the creation of credit in the banking system. In the second watch, is mentoring boys a solution to the crime problem? In our social media question, we ask, what about Jamaica's banking system do you know or understand? Share your responses on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on in the program, but first, here's I quote.
All right, so the I quote this morning is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Reinhold Nemherb, something like that. Good morning, Stokely.
Good morning, Rushane Douglas. Greetings to you, sir.
I am doing well. How are you?
Boy, I am looking for God to grant me the serenity.
I like that. I like that. I like that. And I know that God will indeed do so for you.
Neighbor, well, this gentleman obviously had a lot of revelation when he came up with this prayer. Indeed.
Definitely. So we look forward to having a great morning this morning, sir.
Most definitely, Rushane Douglas. The main watch will be back after this break.
Get ready for another Testimony Tuesday inside Alive 1 to 5 with me, Sarah, and the Chirpy One, February 8th. 2 o'clock will be time for Prayer Blast feature. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside the evidence, we share with you another powerhouse testimony boasting about our great God. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit with visually impaired, a pastor, author, and trained teacher, Pastor Shauna Gay of the Mount Providence New Testament Church of God. All this and more will come your way inside Alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the family station, Love 101.
It may be the most famous and best known psalm of all time, written around 1000 BC by David, who would become king, and sung in all genres of music by Christians and non-Christians. What is it about this psalm? Psalm 23. Listen to the discussion and join into The Rock this Tuesday, February 8 at 10 a.m. with host Bishop Harold Steve Blair and guests Julianne Keene, Reverend Bruce Paulson, and Pastor Leo Porter. How do we as Jamaicans and Caribbean people relate to the words, to the meanings, to the imagery today? What is the point of Psalm 23? You'll find out as you listen to The Rock this Tuesday, February 8 at 10 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
At Kalalutu when you party, where you get?
Kalapati.
At Kalalutu when you party, where you get?
Kalapati.
Juicy party, them sweet, them nice.
That's true.
Yeah, we at the right price. One party no better, you buy two.
They mix the party with the nice Kalalu.
You come will learn. Add Kalalu to any party.
Kalapati.
And if you want, add some cheese.
All Juicy party locations, island wide.
Conditions apply. Kalapati, kalapati.
Back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are in the main watch now, flowing from an interview with a guest on January 26, 2022 on this program. It was on bank fees. Today, we are looking at the matter of banking from another angle in relation to how does money work. When we bank our money, what happens to it? Why do we have to pay to use our own money? And what accounts for these fees and charges? What should we know about our banking system and what don't we know? We have as our guests for this segment, Michael Diamond, President, Consumers Intervention Jamaica. And he advises that he's a US trained lawyer who has practiced commercial law in that country. We also have online Mr. Dennis Chung, well-known financial analyst here in Jamaica. Mr. Chung, Mr. Diamond, good day to you both.
Good morning. Are you hearing me?
Hearing both of you, sirs. Hearing both of you. Greetings to you both. I think we have both of you online. I hope you're all hearing each other.
Yes. I'm hearing.
Wonderful. Excellent. Great. Now, when someone takes a loan from a bank, how is that money created and or where does money actually come from? Mr. Chung, we will start with you. Help us here, sir.
Well, money comes from, if you look at a balance sheet, it comes from a few sources. The capital, number one, which is the money that the owners put into the business. So whether it's by share capital or persons inject capital. Well, share capital basically are loans, right? So loans is another one that can come in. For example, the bank for bankers is the BOJ. So the BOJ sometimes might have to extend credit to an institution or depositors' money that comes in. So when you take your money and you put it in the bank, the bank then uses all of this capital that it has to do its business, and then it, so like when you look at they talk about Scotiabank and NCB controlling 67% of the market. A lot of that is because of the small depositors. They come in, they put their money in savings accounts or deposits, and then the bank then uses all of that money and creates their products with it. There are certain restrictions on what sort of products you can create with what capital, but that's essentially how it happens.
What is fractional reserve lending and how do banks use this to create credit or money? Mr. Chung, before we bring in Mr. Diamond.
The truth is that I recall it, but I don't remember the specifics. I'm not as young as I used to be. So, that's been a little while. But essentially, what it is that banks basically has, a reserve requirement, right? Banks basically use that money that they have, that they get in, and the Bank of Jamaica might say, you need to put a certain amount of money here as a reserve. So the banks might not have the full access to the cash, right? But they can actually lend money based on the total assets that they have. So that's my recollection of it. I mean, don't kill me if it's not 100% accurate, because it has been a while.
Well, we have a little assistance here. In fact, I'm looking right now at an article published in Investopedia, which is a well-known financial online article, it would appear. And this particular article was updated on May 30th, 2021. It's by Matthew Johnston, reviewed by Khadija Cartit, and fact-checked by Kirsten Roars Schmidt. And the title of the article itself is very interesting. The title reads, "Why Banks Don't Need Your Money to Make Loans." Let's bring in Michael Diamond here, who seems to have a very interesting perspective based on his own training in commercial law and his own experience. Mr. Diamond, sir, Michael Diamond,
Yes,
what is practical reserve lending, sir? And when someone takes a loan from a bank or even takes out a credit card, what is your understanding of where money actually comes from?
yes, this is quite a timely discussion, especially given what's happening right now worldwide. But much of what Dennis had mentioned is pretty much where the monies that we're using right now comes from. But yet there's a significant part of this that deals with the monetary policy of a particular country. Now, considering the fact that majority of the world currencies are pegged to the US dollar, that means that a lot of these countries are holding US currency as their reserves to back their currency. So what happens here is that the banks operating on a credit system, which really a fractional reserve is like a credit system, whereas the central authority, which would be the Bank of Jamaica, would basically dictate that a bank is required to make sure that they do have a certain amount of cash on hand in the event that certain depositors, make a demand to receive cash. And the balance of such, they can certainly invest. There's also the additional multiplier that the central authority would give, basically saying that you may extend credit up to even 10, 20 times or even higher of what is actually on your reserves. So in essence, much of the currency...
When you make a statement like that, such as 10 or 20 times, are you speaking in general terms? Are you speaking about Jamaica or any other relevant jurisdiction, or you're speaking generally?
Well, I will tell you that generally any jurisdiction that utilizes a central banking system pretty much operates on the same formula, that they'll give you a currency multiplier, whereas you can lend a certain, again, this is regulated by the central authority. So the bank doesn't choose to do this wantonly. They have to follow the instructions of that authority. So if that authority says that you can multiply by 20 times what your reserves are, because it's a gamble to say that all depositors won't be coming back to the bank to withdraw their money at the same time. So that is a part of the risk of doing business, especially in banking. And that is pretty much how currency is created. So we are operating basically on credit. So the entire system is based upon debt. And this is something that...
Quick one before we head to the break. There is a view which certainly I traditionally held, where if, for example, you say you're taking a loan, it means that the bank is using money that they already have from depositors to lend you that money. Is that what still obtains, Mr. Diamond?
I would say in some aspects of the business, certainly, but that is not the majority of the business. Again, we're dealing with credit and debt. So the bank doesn't have to have that money on hand in order to lend you. This is just a matter of accounting entries. This is something that we have passed that stage many, many years ago. So we are pretty much in a system where
before we head to the break, what obtains now? Because we're almost upon the break, but start. What obtains now?
What obtains now is that it's not to say that we're creating money out of thin air, but it really just a matter of a stroke of
hold that thought, Mr. Diamond, because I do see where we are now upon the break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
There are a million reasons to want to own a home.
I want more space for the children.
I am
Tired of paying rent?
My wife and I want an investment.
Go from future plans to keys in hand with an NCB mortgage. Get rates as low as 6.95%, 100% financing, and up to 40 years to repay. Plus, get the life insurance and home insurance you need all in one place. Visit myhome.jncb.com to get started. Conditions apply.
Hello.
Hello?
Goodbye.
Goodbye? What are you doing?
I'm saying hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry.
Oh, I'd like to say that too.
Well, with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider, you can secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness ahead of time and benefit from their investment portfolio too.
Wow. So it's hello peace of mind.
And goodbye worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider. For more information, contact 888-367-5433 or talk to one of our representatives. Guardian Life. Live secure. Live easy.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are in the main watch, and we are looking at a whole matter of understanding the creation of credit in the banking system. We have as our guest in this segment, Michael Diamond. He is the president of Consumers Intervention Jamaica, and he's also a US-trained lawyer who has practiced commercial law in that country. We also have on the line Mr. Dennis Chung, well-known Jamaican financial analyst. And Mr. Diamond, just before the break, you were in the process of responding to a question in relation to banking and how credit is created, the fractional reserve system. Please, fractional reserve lending, please continue, sir.
Yes, basically what happened is that this is not a very easy thing for most individuals to understand, because their introduction to banking is just that you make a deposit and the bank is holding your deposit, and therefore this is how they extend loans. Now, it's impossible for you to be able to lend out more than you have, and therefore a system had to be created in order to facilitate such for those who don't have it. The banks are like any other business. They have to make profits. And these profits come from the interest collected on loans. Now, how are these loans created?
You mean commercial banks? You mean commercial banks?
We're definitely referring to deposit-taking institutions, because this is the ones that most individuals are, have a relationship with. Now, nevertheless, whenever an individual goes in to take a loan, that situation is not as, we've learned in accounting, just for regular accounting purposes. A liability and an asset is created with that transaction. Now, it's not just simply a liability, it's also an asset on the bank's books. Therefore, once a bank creates a loan, that loan deposit creates an asset for the bank, for which that bank can also lend from that asset. So it's almost as if you're lending from debt to create more debt, and yet, so this is how we circulate currency at this particular point. Keeping in mind as history that a lot of currencies used to be backed by gold or silver, predominantly gold. Now, the United States changed that in 1971. So since 1971, the currency is no longer backed by gold, and therefore is just simply the good faith of the government that they will pay, once presented. So even here in Jamaica, it's a matter of the good faith that the government will continue to back the currency, and that you can use it to conduct business,
Stick up, Mr. Diamond, stick up in only because of time. That's what we mean by fiat currency, sir?
Absolutely. It means that this currency's value is created by law, and that this is legal tender for the exchange of goods and services. But again, you cannot simply go to the Bank of Jamaica and get his equivalent in either gold or silver.
So, Mr. Chung, I do recall on one past occasion, you were explaining to us that we do have fiat currency here. Mr. Chung, any comments so far in relation to what Mr. Diamond has been saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would agree with it. One thing to remember, I mean, even though the bank does create credit, it creates credit based on the reserves it has. It's not that it can lend in excess of the assets, though, right? And as I said, there are certain capital restrictions. So I know definitely in Jamaica, capital can only be used for certain things, right? So you couldn't take depositors' money, for example, and put it in certain investments, right? I don't know if you remember in the 1990s when things went wrong with the banks. What happens, and this comes back to the whole confidence thing, when banks take your money from you, they actually have to put some money in reserves. And that's why they always speak about the level of reserves when they want to create more credit at the central bank. But one of the very important things is that when banks take money from you, they have to match it very carefully between long and short assets and deposits based on what they expect the consumer demand is going to be out there for money, right? And that is what happened in the 1990s, why things went wrong, because there was a little regulation on how capital is regulated. And you'd recall the FIA came out just after the 1996 debacle. And what they do is that they'll take in money and they will say, okay, based on the demands from the customers, this is the amount of money I'm going to need over the short term versus the long term. And then you'll take some of that money that comes in as deposit or loans, and you'll invest it long term, right? Because long term is always going to give you a better return in many respects. But basically that's it, and it's a confidence thing. When a person does not have confidence in a currency, the currency collapses, and that's why the reserve, the foreign reserves is so important at the Bank of Jamaica, because when the reserves go down to less than 12 weeks, for example, is an international standard, it puts a lot of pressure on the exchange rate, right? So go ahead.
I was saying that I see, yes, because we do seem to be very exchange rate sensitive in Jamaica.
Yeah, we are, and that's because we import most of what we consume. So our import bill is very high, and the reserve that is at the BOJ is very important, which is why they keep referring to that, because it's one about confidence. At the end of the day, currency is about confidence. The thing about a currency that's issued by a government, though, is that it has a backing of the central bank, right? And once people have confidence in the government, then that currency will as well. Which is why personally I don't like cryptocurrency, because that for me is not based on anything more than the talk of someone like an Elon Musk, So that confidence thing is very important.
Maybe more unknown on that, but in terms of continuing to understand the creation of credit in the banking system, which is what we're really focusing on today, in a nutshell, sir, going back to you, Mr. Diamond, the role of the central bank in terms of facilitating the creation of money. So in a nutshell, with the fractional reserve system, sir, is it that the central bank, as it were, helps to create the facilitation of credit by allowing a bank under the fractional reserve lending regime or system to allow a commercial bank to actually lend more than what it has in its reserves or deposits by a certain multiplier or a certain amount, a certain number, such as times 10 or times 20, as you said, Mr. Diamond? We just want to make sure we're understanding.
Yes, absolutely. And again, the banking policy or the monetary policy of a country would dictate the type of formula that the central bank would utilize in order to give that leverage for banks to operate as such. Because again, the banks make money, actually the government makes money also from printing currency, because what is on the face value of the currency is not what it costs to print the currency. So they make revenue from that as well. Now, you cannot have...
I want to pause 1 second, only because of time, because there's, of course, there's never enough time on the morning watch. So in a nutshell, a bank is able to lend more money than it actually has received from depositors because of fractional reserve lending.
Absolutely. Again, we operate on a credit system. So the credit system is what allows us to do what we're doing. And a credit system is also where the government says, yes, this type of credit, this credit, we do back it, so that you'll have full faith and confidence in utilizing that paper that you take to the store, or you're doing transaction with other individuals. Remember, at certain levels, paper is not used. This is a simply entries into someone's computer that is actually being used. So being able to do that is what allows us to continue and conduct business.
So just another quick question, sir, Mr. Diamond. I wasn't even sure if I was going to ask this earlier, but you actually raised the specter of the notion of creating money out of thin air. You said it's not that money is created out of thin air. But if you are actually allowed to lend more money by a certain multiplier than you actually have, to the average person listening this morning, they might actually ask themselves the question, but maybe sometimes money is created out of thin air. How would you respond to that, listener?
Well, I'll say that it is quite a discussion that is not possible within this time period. And it is a continued discussion, even in the United States, where monetary policy is concerned, because there's always a challenge with who controls the money and whether or not the Treasury Department has it given up too much authority to the Federal Reserve System in order for individuals to do just that, create money out of thin air. So it's really a matter of policy that is really beyond the discussion at this time. But the idea of it is that there is a central authority that allows credit to be utilized within the sector and regulated very heavily, to say that even though you may have gotten $1,000, you are able to then lend out $100,000 based upon fractional reserve and credit.
And of course, the listener is repaying this loan or this credit card with interest, but more anon on that perhaps another time. But we are never enough time on the Morning Watch. You made mention of the Federal Reserve. I'm assuming you mean the Federal Reserve of the United States of America. Is it similar to our central bank? Is it similar to our central bank?
No, because we're speaking about the fact that our currency is backed by the dollar, and therefore whatever affects the dollar will eventually affect our currency, as long as that's the reserve that we're using as the confidence behind our own money.
And just one more before we wrap. Central banks, for example, our central bank, it is owned and controlled by the government of Jamaica. Assist us, because I even understand that at this time, the central bank is now considered independent, or is now independent. So who actually owns and controls the central bank?
The central bank is a creature. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, no, it's the government of Jamaica. What is independent is the decision making. So, right. But is it the government of Jamaica that owns it?
The decision making is independent, but the government actually owns it.
Yes.
Understood. Well, we're almost out of time already, gentlemen. Do you both have any final thoughts? Firstly, with you, Mr. Chung, and then Mr. Diamond. Mr. Chung, any final thoughts you want to share in a few seconds?
Just to reiterate that, the whole system is based on confidence, and that's what drives it. Which is why the reserves are so important. The NIR, the policies that the BOJ creates, inflation control through interest rates, that it's all a game of confidence. And if that goes, then everything goes.
Oh, Mr. Diamond, I just want to squeeze one more in. As part of your final comment, when persons place money in the bank, you mentioned something about credit. It's a credit on the accounts of the bank. So if I put money in the bank, is it still my money?
Well, you put money in the bank, it's still, when you put money in the bank, yes, it is your money. The bank owes you that money. So under the law, a debtor-creditor relationship has been established, where the bank is debtor to you and you're the creditor.
But the bank is not a trustee and I'm the beneficial owner of the money. There's a distinction, yes?
Yeah, there is a distinction, because they have your money in custody, yes, but again, this money is always yours, because they have to be able to present that money to you upon demand.
They're not trustees for the money in the way lawyers will talk about a trust.
No, absolutely not. Again, the financial sector has its relationship that is different than what you're attempting to describe.
More and none, gentlemen. I want to thank both Mr. Chung and Mr. Diamond for being guests with us in this first watch, main watch. Wish we had more time, but we don't. Gentlemen, thank you for your time and for your thoughts and your contributions. Listeners, stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Now with no processing fees and no down payment, it's time to open the door to your own sweet home. The time by JN Bank is
7:30 right here on Love 101 FM, the family station. Stay tuned.
Get ready for another Testimony Tuesday inside Alive. 1 to 5 with me, Sarah, and the Chirpy One, February 8. 2 o'clock will be time for Prayer Blast feature. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside the evidence, we share with you another powerhouse testimony boasting about our great God. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit with visually impaired, a pastor, author, and trained teacher, Pastor Shauna Gay of the Mount Providence New Testament Church of God. All this and more will come your way inside Alive, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the family station, Love 101.
It's a family station, Love 101. We have a message from our friends over there at Sagicor. Open a Sagicor Bank eAdvantage account today and enjoy free unlimited withdrawals from Sagicor Bank ABMs. Bank with ease as you please. That was a message from our friends over there at Sagicor. This is Love 101, the family station.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on JN Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. JN Bank will help you find a way.
Anniversary day just round the corner, celebrating all the gift from the Father. God, how you good? How you love we so? 93 till now. You never let we go. Come Monday, February 14. Celebrate all day upon the big sea with the family of listeners and announcers them. Love 101 for everybody, my friend. It went nice, you see. Oh yes, celebration turn up. This Monday, February 14 is Love 101 Anniversary Day. 7 to 8 a.m. I remember when 10 to 11 a.m. celebration begin. 1 to 2 p.m. drop a word from the rhythm. We are on the move. All glory to him. God, oh, you good. How you love us so. 93 till now. You never let we go. Anniversary. 29th anniversary. We are on the move. Anniversary. Love 101 a groove. Anniversary.
What I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. Let's take a look now what our newspapers see, what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. We have on the front page of today's Gleaner, Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. Admissibility of phone recordings hangs in balance. This is in relation to the Klansman gang trial. Also on the front page, headline, experts call. Lee Issa sides with docs against Stewart's COVID mandate pullback. This is in relation to Lee Issa, Mr. Lee Issa, and Adam Stewart. We now turn to the Daily Observer. We have marked for death. Very concerning story here. Marked for death. Killers mapped out party venue before slaying promoters. Horrible. That story by Anthony Lewis here. And by the way, I really should have mentioned that in terms of the Gleaner story on Experts Call, that story is by Kimon Francis, senior staff reporter at the Gleaner. Another story here from the Daily Observer referred to at page 3 of the Observer. Reggae star wants Tufton to resign over vaccine plan. Those and many other stories in both major daily newspapers this morning. Coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question, which is, what about Jamaica's banking system do you know or understand? If you haven't done so yet, leave a comment on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica. live and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Get ready for another Testimony Tuesday inside Alive 1 to 5 with me, Sarah, and the Chirpy One, February 8. 2 o'clock will be time for Prayer Blast feature. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside the evidence, we share with you another powerhouse testimony boasting about our great God. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit with visually impaired, a pastor, author, and trained teacher, Pastor Shauna Gay of the Mount Providence New Testament Church of God. All this and more will come your way inside Alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. Well, Rushane Douglas, do we have any feedback to that?
Not just yet. Not just yet, I believe.
Well, maybe people are thinking about it. Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang. Yes, right into the second watch we go to. Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang, in September last year, 2021, said that, on average, 40% of all known murder offenders in Jamaica are young men aged 15 to 24. And that only accounts for murder. What measures would help to keep our young men away from criminal activity in general? We have online today to discuss this very crucial and extremely relevant topic. Reverend Mark Dawes, pastor, Grace Missionary Church. We also should be having online Reverend Sean Williams, who is pastor, Fellowship Tabernacle, and counselor. Good morning, Reverend Dawes, and good morning, Reverend Williams.
Hi, Stokely. Good to meet you. And good morning, Brother Williams. How are you doing?
Good morning, Mark, man. Good to hear your voice.
Likewise.
It's been a long time.
Been quite a while.
Great hearing both of you. Excellent hearing both of you, in fact. Now I'm going to start with you, Reverend Dawes. Do you think that the mentoring of boys based on, and I will say based on, Christian morality is what is needed to stem violent gun-related crime to include murders? Reverend Dawes?
That is certainly a crucial part of the strategies that need to be employed to help to curb criminality in boys. It might not be the sole thing, but it is an extremely important thing. But can I tell you what I think is even more fundamental than that? I believe that the boys are desperately in need of fatherly engagement. I believe that fathers need to be in the picture, and that fathers, God has so given to fathers a certain kind of emotional, I'm trying to look for the right word, almost psychic capital in the lives of boys. When you're a little boy, you think your father is Superman. And I think that fathers underestimate their abilities to reach and shape and mold youngsters so that they would want to emulate the good and not want to emulate the bad. Can I go a little further? Stokely, you know that I had a career before I became a pastor. I used to be a reporter with a certain newspaper on 7 North Street in Kingston. And I once had the opportunity to go and talk with some ex-gunmen. They were part of a congregation. They had now become part of the fellowship at a church in the Spanish Town area, the Rivoli area of Spanish Town. And every single one of them, I interviewed about 7 of them, and they all said, without any prompting on my part, that they went astray because they did not have a father in their home. You know, they trace their deviancy, they trace their criminality to the absence of a responsible daddy in their home. So mentoring, in some sense, is playing a fathering role, and so we can't have too much of it if we are hoping to curb the tide of criminality in Jamaica. So let me pause here so that my friend Pastor Williams can get in a word.
You know, what you said, Reverend Dawes, is so critical. Now, Reverend Williams, why are young men easily drawn to or recruited into becoming gunmen, and how can mentoring delete this problem? Reverend Sean Williams?
I think my brother Mark Dawes just shared in a very detailed way the importance of a father in a male, a son in particular's life. We cannot deny that. All the data is there. It is clear that fathers are essential and important. Now, in a society where fatherlessness, in my mind, is a pandemic, you know, the consequences we are seeing. But I want to rephrase how you asked the question. Mentoring should not be seen as a means to curb someone's desire to become a gunman or engage in criminal activity. But if we see mentoring in helping people to discover who they are, that they can be the best version of themselves, out of that, they'll make healthy choices and not go to the act of being a criminal. Because the young men are born and they have been placed here by God with a purpose, a solution, a divine calling per se. And it's our job as men to help to engage them that they may see it and fulfill it. In doing that, crime then will be a thing to be not even considered. That's how we see them, and we have to value them and see the worst in them to even strive to serve them.
You know, when a boy who has actually been mentored now or fathered, when he's being recruited by a gang member to join the gang, to start holding a gun, it's almost like in some cases part of their rites of passage. How will the mentoring or the fathering that they had received really help that boy? I mean, here's where the rubber really meets the road now, because they might, for example, living in a community where it is expected that he will engage in such activities. Reverend Williams, any comments before we head to break?
Well, you see, we have to understand that very often when young men are recruited, there is a void there. There's something that they want to achieve or to accomplish. And the gangs, believe it or not, do find a place of love, a place of safety and comfort and belonging. And I am convinced if young men at an earlier age are given the chance to be a part of a family, a company of men who can serve them and offer them hope, it will increase their ability and willingness to say no to what looks good now and choose hope for the future.
Hold those further thoughts, Pastor Williams. Pastor, we'll be back with you as well. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
It's Love 101 FM, the family station, making the time 7:45.
Sagicor E-Advantage, bank with ease, as you please, like a breeze, pay no fees, rain or shine, save your time, it's so fine when you bank online.
There's a savings account that meets your need for speed and ease. Sagicor Bank E-Advantage, bank electronically, no monthly fees, unlimited, free Sagicor Bank ABM withdrawals, interest on your money.
Bank with ease, as you please, like a breeze, pay no fees.
Open your account today, Sagicor Bank in your corner.
Jamaicans at home and abroad. It's now here. The Jamaica Customs Agency's first podcast series, Real Talk with Customs, Wednesday, February 9, 2022 at 10 a.m. under the theme JCA, Embracing Digital Transformation and Building a Data Ecosystem. Log on to the Jamaica Customs Agency and Cleaner YouTube channels for real, relevant, and accurate information right at your fingertips. That's Real Talk with Customs, Wednesday, February 9, 2022 at 10 a.m. We keep the talk real. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
Every day I get bigger, every day I get better. I'm a star and I shimmer. Watch me grow, I'm a winner, yeah. Every step that I take, oh yeah. Feeling great cause I'm learning, yeah. I'm a star and I shimmer. Watch me grow, I'm a winner, yeah. La 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 la. Watch me grow with Alacta Plus.
Help support their mental development at this important stage with a unique combination of nutrients from Alacta Plus. This product is not intended to be a substitute for breast milk.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are in the second watch. We are looking at is mentoring boys a solution to the crime problem? We have as our guests Reverend Mark Dawes, pastor of the Grace Missionary Church, and Reverend Sean Williams, pastor of Fellowship Tabernacle and a counselor. Now, Reverend Williams, for the break, you are responding to the question, when a boy who has been mentored is being recruited by a gang, how will the mentoring, and we can even add fathering, that they would have gotten really help that boy continue, Reverend Williams?
One of the things I also want to share, though, is that we have to give our young men a chance to make a choice. There are people who will make bad decisions, but we have to create the opportunity to make a good one. And mentoring provides them a chance to make a good one by walking with someone, supporting them, and showing them a better way. And there are many young men who actually want a better way, but they don't see any other way. And so they feel compelled or forced to follow a particular path. I've met young men who have never been outside their community. They only know what is happening in their community. So therefore, they don't dream, they don't believe, and they don't see another way. By mentoring, I'm giving them a physical, tangible example of what is possible. And when they see hope, something stirs in their heart, and they believe, I can be different. Because not everyone wants to be a criminal. They just don't see any other way, and that's the truth. And mentoring has been talked about for years, and we have all these talks day in and day out, but there doesn't seem to be a will to really do what is required to rescue our men and rescue our nation.
Reverend Dawes, any thoughts? And in commenting, at what age do you think the mentoring should start?
From basic school level, at least, and it should be followed up. And a lot of the mentoring will need to be both structured and unstructured. It's good for the mentoring to have a kind of template that, at certain levels, that after X number of weeks, after X number of months or years, we would have covered X, Y, and Z. And a lot of mentoring also takes place in the context of unscripted events in the life of yourself and your mentee. When you drive in the car and somebody bad drive you and your mentee's in the car and they see you hold back your tongue and you bite your lip. And so that's part of the mentoring too, right? And see how some aspects of mentoring will come from one's reflex actions, how we treat with situations, and how we even apologize when we are known to be wrong. People are always watching us. Our mentees are always watching us, and they are looking to see how we treat with the issues of the day. And so that's what I speak about when I refer to the unscripted things that will come on the radar of those we are trying to mentor. Because we are always being watched, right? Both for the programmed and the unprogrammed aspects of life.
Interesting. Now, clearly the mentor has to be someone of exemplary moral character. And taking the discussion a little bit more now into how to ensure that mentoring / fathering is spread, and the correct mentoring and the correct fathering is spread across the length and breadth of the island of Jamaica. What exactly should be done to implement it, Reverend Dawes? Is it government policy? Is it the churches doing it without the assistance of the government? Is it men's ministries in church? Is it incorporating things like cadets, Boy Scouts, or whatever it is? You don't have to agree that those things should be part of the way to go. But practically speaking, how do you achieve that mentoring successfully?
Mentoring is an idea that is very biblical. Mentoring is synonymous with discipleship. That's when Jesus tells us that we are to make disciples. It involves mentoring. And so if there's any set of people who should be at the forefront of mentoring, it is those of us who are believers in Jesus Christ. And to that extent, we are to be exemplars of mentor. When secular authorities want to learn how to mentor, they should be coming to church folk to find out how to do it, right? So mentoring is first and foremost a lifestyle. It's less of a program and more of a lifestyle. It involves coming alongside a youngster, and sometimes the older folks too cry out for mentoring. It's not just people who are toddlers and teenagers and young adults who want mentoring. Some people with more gray hairs than me are also out there crying out to be mentored. So mentoring is a lifestyle, but here's the important thing about mentoring. You have to be intentional about it. You can't just think it will happen like that. You have to, in the old Jewish economy, the student don't choose their rabbi. The rabbi chooses their student. And so the mentor must intentionally go after people and say, I am going to take you under my wings, and I'm going to coach you, I'm going to train you. And in so doing, establish rapport that the person wants to be trained by you. The person wants to be in your presence to learn stuff from you, right? And so we have to be very intentional about it, because otherwise Satan has his people out there who are quite intentional about taking youngsters and corrupting and distressing and destroying their lives, right? We need positive rites of passage for our young people, young men in particular. What we do have are negative rites of passage that tell people that you have to go Mr. Chin shop in order to be part of this community. You have to do various acts of crime, various dysfunctional things. What we need are clear markers for one's journey in life, that you pass these milestones, and as you pass these milestones, you know you are progressing to increasing spiritual and moral development. That's part of what is needed. I think we as Christian people, we need to sit down and articulate and write out positive rites of passage, and maybe make it relevant as per age group as well, and insist on it and work with it so that we can help people to have a target that they are aspiring to and going towards. You know, there's a book that I highly recommend called Raising a Modern Day Knight, Knight. It's by a man named Robert Lewis. He talks about the knight of the medieval era. And he said those were the promise keepers of their day. And he points out how you don't just become a knight overnight. There are some steps you take along the way. And it's very intentional. And then the process is consummated, as it were, when you are dubbed a knight. And you would have passed through a number of positive steps on the way to knighthood. And so it is, young people, young men in particular, need some positive steps that they need to pass through, need to take on the way to full, mature manhood. So let me pause here. And
you have said
quite well articulated, bro.
Reverend Williams, I want to ask you very quickly, because only because of time, wish we had more time, but Reverend Williams, how do we implement much of what Reverend Dawes just said, maybe on a national level, whether or not it includes government policy, sir, whereby when it is done, it really helps to stem crime? Focusing more on the topic this morning, sir. But you're not confined to reducing crime in your response.
Just quickly, it has to have a clear vision and a clear purpose where each entity can buy in. And I do believe fundamentally the church ought to be the leader in regard to the moral aspect. But there's a place for mentoring in regard to business, science, commerce. So we can be the ones who prepare our young men morally, live by principles and values, and have different stakeholders who serve. Okay, I can mentor in the area of business, commerce, and technology. So we develop whole young men. And mentoring works, you know. If mentoring did not work, there'd be no gangs. Because gangs mentor. Yes. And they have a rite of passage. And they have initiation. And they have been very successful. So mentoring can work if we are committed to the best interest of our country and have love for our young men and believe in them.
Unfortunately, what you just said, Miss Reverend Williams, is true. Gangs are successful at mentoring, but they do so in a negative way. Gentlemen, I think we are I think we're all totally out of time because never enough time of the morning watch. But I want to thank Reverend Dawes for sharing your very insightful thoughts, sir. And similarly, Reverend Sean Williams, very, very, very critical thoughts you shared with us, Reverend Williams. Grateful for your contribution as well, sir. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us this morning, for your time and for your time.
Okay, you're most welcome.
Most definitely, sir. Most definitely. Thank you, our listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues. Visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs, and listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app. Download it today and stay connected to the family station, Love 101 FM. This is the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. I am Stokely Marshall, handing it back to Love in the Morning. Love in the Morning with Rashane Douglas.
Thank you, Stokely. Have a wonderful day now. 8 o'clock right here on Love 101.